Hey everybody, how's it going today? Sorry about the squeaky chair. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a video on Scott and Brenda Schuler, where they're going to kill me for this video. But Scott and Brenda Schuler were kind enough to put on a challenge to talk about what was in your essential rewards order this month. And so my essential rewards order is not in yet, but I wanted to get the video done. So today we're just going to use the bottles I have laying around that need to be refilled because, well, that's what's going to go on my e-order, and that's what's going to come in. I'm going to talk about them a little bit for you, try to give a little bit of education to you at the same time. The first thing that's going to be on ER order is the NingXia Red. Stuff, one of my favorite, absolutely great. Anybody that drinks it knows they love it, tastes amazing. But we're not going to ramble on too much about that part about it. What we're going to talk about with it is what is it actually for? Well, NingXia Red, massive antioxidant content. So anybody who's doing epigenetic work, alterations, basically making changes to their DNA, you really want to use this stuff to help support your DNA, because DNA requires huge quantities of antioxidants to be able to alter and modify itself. Through epigenetics, Dr. Bruce Lipton and many other people out there can talk all about epigenetic modification. It is a topic that's way too long for this video, but I'm telling you that's one of the things it's used for, is because a 1 ounce shot of this has the same number of antioxidants as 100 organic oranges. So massive part of it. Another big part of it that I'm going to use it for is it's really high in vitamin B1, which is also known as thiamine. And thiamine is your body, it's a B vitamin, and it's vitamin B1 specifically. And your body uses vitamin B1 to get the energy out of the foods that you eat. So because I have been lazy, busy, we'll make all the excuses in the world that I want, or that I can, but basically they're just excuses. I've been really busy with getting a bunch of different books out, getting moved out of my house, a whole lot of things, and so I've been very lazy as far as going to the gym, and my eating habits have been less than optimal. Living in the wife's parents' basement for a little bit. Bless their hearts for letting me do so. But you know, it's not easy when everything's stacked in boxes set all over the place. So the reason why, though, is this thiamine, when your body, when you go through physical activity, if you've seen my book or read my book, Essentially Fit, it is available for free at stayhealthymyfriends.win. This is a big staple of it. I give the book away for free just because I want everybody to have the information. So if you haven't been there yet, go run to my website, stayhealthymyfriends.win. Get a copy of it. It's 100% FDA compliant. You can order copies of it at cost to give away to your downline. Tons of useful information, but the big reason is this is kind of a cornerstone of the book. Because anybody that wants to start getting back to the gym, the reason why this is great for having extra energy because of that thiamine content. And so anybody that's going to start doing physical activity, you're obviously going to be burning through a lot of energy because, you know, you have to get to the gym, you have to exercise, that takes physical energy. I mean, any form of anything else that you're doing, that epigenetic modification stuff I talked about, that also consumes large quantities of energy. So big thing is that this is great at supporting energy because of that vitamin in particular. There's many other vitamins that go with it, so there's a symbiotic pairing of vitamins and minerals that makes it even better than just the B1 on its own. And a quick point I'd like to put out there, a synthetic vitamin will never, ever, ever be the exact same as a real natural vitamin. We cannot put the same quantum electron spins on it. We can't put left-handed or right-handed molecules, the same ratio of the spins of those on there. Our science just is nowhere near where it needs to be able to do that. So for anybody who is just looking for the extra energy, this is the reason why the NingXia Red is on my ER order, because I got to get rid of this dad bod. I got to get back in shape here a little bit because I have been lazy. It's all there is to it. I mean, excuses abound everywhere. So, you know what, everybody, you got to take a break sometimes. Sometimes you falter. It happens. So that's what we're going to use this for. That's one of the biggest reasons, is that energy. I got to get back in the gym. I got to get back, and I got to get rid of this dad bod because it's just embarrassing. It's like, oh my gosh, look at myself. I look terrible. I'm going to eat a whole bunch of FDA unapproved coconut oil because that is wonderful for losing weight. And since I'm not selling coconut oil, I can tell you all about that. So there's a billion other reasons to use this, but that's why it's on there on the ER order. If you aren't using it and you need extra energy, should be at the top of your list of things to get. The next one that's on there, my ER order is not enormous this month. We're waiting kind of until next month. I got a whole bunch of things planned. But the next one, very special oil. It's called Palo Santo. Palo Santo means Ecuadorian holy wood. If you haven't smelled it, it smells kind of like a cross between balsamic vinaigrette and frankincense. Unbelievable form of, I apologize if I mix it up, but a left-handed alpha pinene, which has a spin on it that is more spiritual. The big use of what Palo Santo is for is spiritual purification. And so what do you mean by that? People say, read it in your book, be like, oh, spiritual purification. What the heck does that mean? A good thing that it means it's for is for removing psychic implants, negative thought forms, basically boogeymen is another way to put it, rogue thought processes. If you haven't read the book, The Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple by Dr. David Stewart, you've got to read that book. I like to start near the end, closer towards the end of it, where he talks about the spiritual implications and then goes back into the science of it, because if you don't understand the spiritual aspect of it, the science part of it really is just kind of like looking at something but not knowing what it is. So it's another language. It's like, well, great, I speak another language, but that's kind of what the chemistry of it is. It's just speaking another language, the chemistry of it. So that language is not going to make a whole lot of sense unless you really understand the objects that you're looking at when you talk about them. So the language, it's much better to start towards the back of the book. I forget what page it is, but there's a section that basically starts the spiritual side of it and then goes back to the actual chemistry behind all of it. Oh, it's a great book. A tip for it is just read through it. Understand what you can, come back to what you don't. Don't get focused on, oh my gosh, I can't understand this, it's overwhelming. I don't understand. I mean, it's hundreds of pages long. It's beautiful. I would love to tell you I understand everything in there. Absolutely not. But after you understand kind of the spiritual implications of it, kind of what he talks about, and a quote I heard from him at a talk that he gave is, an emotion buried alive never dies. It comes back with a life of its own. And so we hear a lot of times people say, oh, we only use 10% of our brain, and that's why we're hindered so much. What they mean by that is we only have conscious control over about 10% of our thoughts. The rest of it are just automatic programs that run. They're just what's going on. They are, many of them too, when I say psychic implants, they're thoughts that aren't ours. And so a lot of times it's going to be difficult to kind of understand what I'm talking about unless you sit and think about it for a little bit. I hate using this reference and this analogy. I don't know if it's an analogy or allegory. I never keep those straight. Anyway, we're basically going to kind of use the movie The Matrix. And our world, our reality is kind of built up in a matrix. It's a series of experiences that we process, we take in, we react to. And if you remember, there was that one big one that comes out of the back, right here in the back of the head there. Well, what that is a gigantic, gigantic nerve juncture in the human body. And I've been studying the book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and they basically talk about the different wrathful deities and the peaceful deities that go through, and each one is a manifestation, each of our own thoughts. And kind of what that talks about is this nerve juncture back here is a gigantic juncture in which your thoughts are able to be hijacked. And we call those psychic implants. And what I mean by a psychic implant is when you see something on TV, they're abound in movies everywhere, advertising, it's in symbolism all over the place. Basically what ends up happening when you have stuff that comes in your eyes, remember, what you consume is not just what goes into your mouth. It's also what goes into your eyes, what goes into your ears, what you think about. That's what you're consuming. So if you're thinking about something that really isn't all that important, or is something, if you watch Skinamax or something. I'm personally guilty of a lot of stuff. That's the reason I'm using Palo Santo, is I've got a lot of rogue thought processes that I need to kick out. And so when you see these things coming in on, say, a TV show you shouldn't watch, or this stuff that's just rife with symbolism that's being hijacked in there, what that is, the nerves that come from these eyes crisscross and go right back here into that occipital lobe, that gigantic plug that's in the matrix, and that's where these things plug in. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes that way. And so, because I myself haven't always paid attention in the best way to the things that I've been watching and allowing into my consciousness through my eyes, I made a lot of mistakes in my past. And so Palo Santo is one of the greatest ones for when it's time to purge these thoughts that aren't yours, or the thoughts, the things that you've seen that you've let into your reality, that then they're forms of small traumas that start to take on a kind of a life of their own. All of a sudden, you see something on there, and you get, you watch Skinamax or something, all of a sudden you start thinking about, you've got different sexual thoughts that go on, or whatever else. Over time, these start to build up if you continue to do these things. You watch some violent movie or something that goes on. If you're unable to keep yourself straight with it, and be able to say, okay, I've watched this, but I need to process it off. If you're unable to pay attention, that's why there's the flicker rate on the screen, is because it puts you into that hypnotic state that allows these things in deeper. You can look up the Google patents on all that stuff. It's a long topic, but the big thing is, when it's time to start purging these thought processes out that aren't exactly yours, or they're emotions that have been buried alive that have now taken on a life of their own. You know, when you're sitting and you're going on your day, if you really start to pay attention, you know, prayer and meditation is a great way to start paying attention to your thoughts. When you start paying attention to them, you all of a sudden find out, well, I've got a whole lot of thoughts that aren't exactly mine, per se. And so if if any of this makes you uncomfortable too, if anything that I'm saying to you, boogeyman or psychic implants, if any of this is making you uncomfortable, remember this has absolutely nothing to do with me and everything to do with yourself and your inability to process these things that I'm talking about, your rejection of them, saying, well, that's something I want to think about, this guy's crazy, I don't even want to give any thought. If you've never given any thought to it, how do you have any idea if it's that way or not? So that's a big thing when I'm talking about Palo Santo. It is a really, really good one to be able to start purging these negative thought processes. And this Palo Santo, this holy wood, the thing is, because it's a very shamanic or shamanic oil, people say it differently, since it's best used with a very, very, very specific intention when you apply it. So when you apply it, pay attention and really set your intention of what you want it to be able to do. Because that intention goes it allows you to use way less oils and get a way larger effect out of it if you actually pay attention and set the correct intention. It goes great over the third eye, wonderful spot for it, or especially back here, this big juncture you see in the matrix, that gigantic plug that goes back in there. That's the one connected to the eyes that goes in that occipital cortex back there. So there's the aroma freedom technique. I think it's maybe Benjamin Perkin has put that on. I'm sorry if I confuse his name. I'm trying to just get this video out there for people. So if you haven't seen the aroma freedom technique or the tapping that can go on that you can do to be able to tap the different emotions and traumas that are held in there, or rogue thought processes, psychic implants, boogeymen if you want to call it. I guess in Christian they call it the Christian demonology. You know, there's many different things that if you haven't read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you can go through it, and it takes a very long time to kind of start understanding what they're talking about, but hopefully I give you a bit of a jump start in what they're talking about, what's going on with it. So like I said, Scott and Brent, I'm sorry, you're gonna kill me for making this video because it's out there. But for the people who are ready to do it and are ready to start taking control of their thoughts and evolving their consciousness, Palo Santo is a great one to start purging those out. Because remember too, there's genetic memories that can go back 14 generations or more that you might have traumas locked in your DNA that aren't even yours. They're passed down through the family. This is what happens. That's why biblically they used a lot of these oils for so many generations. They had to purify it of the 7 generations to guard the Ark of the Covenant, and all these things had to be purified out, and different rituals that went through. It's because these traumas, we've known for a very long time that these get carried through. We just forgot about these things, and we've been hijacked with our science of saying, oh, our DNA is set and it doesn't change. Nothing could be further from the truth. And if you're really want to get into and start looking at the cycles of trauma and addiction, there's a guy named Gabor Mate, and he's the world's foremost expert on addiction, and he has got the most beautiful videos out there. I mean, this guy lays it out in the calmest and most beautiful way to kind of help you understand to get these traumas out of here, because a lot of times we get these traumas, we try to go on these crash diets and stuff that we're not changing anything. We're just going on this diet that's doing nothing for us, and we lose the weight, and then what do? You'd be like, oh man, hey, I went and worked out, I deserve a pizza. That's that self-sabotage coming back in. That's these traumas that are locked in there that don't allow you to love yourself enough, because there's these thoughts that really aren't yours, or these unresolved traumas and unresolved emotions that are stuck there, stuck in your reality, that plug into these different junctures. And you can go into acupuncture, where they show where these nerve junctures line up and how these different things are treated, and which different emotions these are tied to, and which different thought processes. And Christian demonology explains it just in a little bit different way of saying this is the type of thought that gets stuck back here in these things, because you've got nerve junctures. You go to chiropractic care, they're like, well, if you have a problem up here, it manifests a problem down in the lower back area. So you watch Skinamax, it can result in a trauma, or a thought process gets locked here that manifests itself sexually down here, because it's connected the whole way. So hopefully it's given you a really good hopefully it's made you really uncomfortable, because if it didn't, this wouldn't be any fun in this video. And hopefully it's given you something to really think about when you start using your oils, to say, okay, well, when I use them, I want to have a really specific intention in mind behind when I use them, because that Scott and Brent are going to kill me for this too, because that now allows way less oils to do a whole lot more, so you're going to need to go through way less oils. But you know, it's all about sustainability. That's a good thing, because we have so many new Young Living members and so many people starting to use oils. We want to make sure there's enough for everybody, so make sure to do it the most effective way you can. The other thing that'll do too, then, you can just that means you can afford to buy a whole lot more different oils, because you're not going through so many of them, because you're just carelessly applying them. So to everybody out there, I want to remind you, you know what, stay healthy, my friends. And also down the line, hopefully by the end of August, the book is already written, got to send it off the editor. I've got a 33 Days of Oils book coming out that it won't really get into these topics as much, but I have some great thinking topics for you that can really help you understand your oils. Because if I just tell you how to use your oils and I'm not telling you why, you're not learning anything. If you don't think, you're not evolving your consciousness in any way, shape, or form. You're just following orders. I want you to understand, and I want you to think. And that's the reason I do these videos this way, is because that's what I want to do for you. I want you to think. I want you to understand your oils so you know how to use them, so you know what they do. That's what Gary talks about a whole lot of times, or anybody that understands these things. It's like, get to know your oils and let them speak to you. And they'll tell you what they do if you start paying attention. So that's a big thing. That's the currency of the universe, is attention. You know, that's another topic for a different day too, but hopefully you guys really want to get yourself some NingXia Red. Cheer me on to get this dad bod back in shape, because man, I'm just miserable with it. What did I do to myself? It's terrible. So everybody have a great one. Make sure to go pick up that book, Essentially Fit. It's free at stayhealthymyfriends.win, and may your ER order be amazing, and maybe I'll do a video next month on the really cool stuff that I'm going to work on. There's a very little known oil called Zhang Mao that I'm pretty sure is going to be on my next order, because oh, it's a neat oil if you know what it is and what it does. Man, barely anybody knows about it. God, it smells good. So delicious. But anyway, that's where we are. Have a great night, everybody, and hopefully you enjoyed the video.